Subscription services are growing bigger and bigger every single year, starting off with movies and TV shows, then expanding to gaming. Everything in the entertainment world is quickly being consumed by them, and gaming subscriptions come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. Some of them are good, and some are EA Play. These services are mainly associated with consoles and PCs, where all the biggest AAA games reside. But what about game subscription services? For a device that is known for having the worst games, but at the same time every person on the planet owns like 10 versions of. Get ready to puke, because today we're talking about gaming subscription services for mobile phones. Like I said, gaming subscription services aren't really associated with smartphones, but of course the industry has evolved, giving us even more options to waste our money on stupid products. So how exactly did mobile gaming become a part of this conversation? Let's take a closer look at this journey that started with the announcement of the first major subscription service that got the snowball really rolling down and the pioneer in this space. Apple Arcade. See, I always wonder what happens if you combine the two. This is one of the main gaming subscriptions on mobile that we have today, and it's known for having a really solid library of great new games and enhanced classics. And it all started on January 28th, 2019, when a news company called Cheddar got an exclusive scoop that Apple is planning a subscription service for games, according to 5 people familiar with the matter. It was also said that Apple started discussing their plans with developers in the second half of 2018, but outside of that there was no other information. Society didn't have to wait much longer though, as Apple Arcade was officially revealed just 2 months later at the Apple event, along with several other services, and it was quite the reveal. They were already working with many well-known studios such as Gameloft, WayForward, Konami, Capcom, Disney, Sega and many more. They were not playing around here. Further along in the initial reveal, game developers really hype up the service, saying it finally gives them the freedom to make the most creative games possible. Very creative. But on a serious note, I can tell that what they're saying definitely has some truth to it, with games like Cut the Rope Remastered, Subway Surfers Tag, Rayman Mania and Crossy Road Castle that may have never seen the light of day, if not for Apple Arcade, which was released on September 19th of 2019. All getting their time to shine, exclusively for this service. That's the fun thing about Apple Arcade. It has pretty much everything a mobile gamer like me could ever dream of. Old classics brought back in an enhanced form with no microtransactions, all kinds of new exciting games that I could sink hours into, all available only on this stupid f***ing piece of f***ing shit. Very luckily, however, I have my sister's old iPhone 8 that I can use to access Apple Arcade, but having it on my main phone would be far more convenient, and lots of people aren't as lucky as me. Smartphones are also one of the last places you would expect to have platform exclusivity, but I guess corporations will always find new, innovative ways to piss people off. This is Apple Arcade problem number 1, exclusivity. While having games exclusive to the platform is a strong selling point, it obviously leaves out those who don't have an Apple device, which is a lot of people. Now I know Apple Arcade is also available on their PCs and other devices, so if you don't have an iPhone or iPad, but rather a different Apple device, you could still try the service. It's important to remember, however, that Apple Arcade impacted mobile gaming in a very important way. No ads or microtransactions. This issue has been plaguing the industry for years and still is no doubt, but having a service that offers a massive library of great games like What the Car and What the Golf, Dead Cells Plus, Sonic Dream Team, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, Amazing Bomberman, Monster Hunter Stories Plus, Sneaky Sasquatch and Fantasian, just to name a few. All from mobile without these infuriating drawbacks was definitely a breath of fresh air. This luxury of not being bothered by IAPs and advertisements comes at a cost, so let's talk about a crucial aspect of the service that will determine if you can use it even if you have the right device. Money. How much does Apple Arcade cost? If you're paying monthly, it will cost you $7 a month. Multiply that by 12 and you get $84 a year. However, if you decide to buy an annual subscription, you will only need to spend $50, a big $34 decrease. This is Apple Arcade problem number 2. The monthly price sucks balls. I suppose Apple wants people to either commit or piss off, and while this is a very common strategy, I don't like it a whole lot. If you don't know if you want to commit, Apple very kindly offers a 1-month trial, or if you just bought a new device, you can even get a 3-month trial, and you can share your subscription with up to 5 people. But let's talk about the $50 price. In my eyes, that's a pretty fantastic deal. As of this video's release, the service has almost 300 games, so there's a ton of content to enjoy here for a price equal to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion expansion pack. And only Apple Arcade has Subway Surfers tag, so we all know who's the winner. I love that game so much, I don't even know why. But if you're gonna be paying $50 a year for a service, you better hope it's good. And while I think it is very solid, what do the people think? This depends. If you don't have an Apple device, you probably hate it. If you hate mobile games, then you not only hate it, but also question its existence. But if you can access it and like mobile games, then it still depends. From what I read, a lot of people use Apple Arcade to play a bunch of good games, then stop using it afterwards. Which definitely says a lot about the library. Because while the service started off with some big titles, over time the focus shifted to more casual experiences. And those aren't bad, far from it. But due to the lack of higher quality games, this is definitely not a service for everyone. This lack of big games is also partially because of Apple Arcade problem number 3. Games keep getting removed. While new games are added to Apple Arcade's catalog every month, the opposite also applies, with games being removed constantly. So far, over 60 games have disappeared, many of which were beloved titles by users of the service. Now, let's talk about Apple Arcade problem number 4, flexibility. Many titles exclusive to the service can't be purchased separately, which means that if you're hooked on a particular game, you have to be subscribed to Apple Arcade to play it. And there's another fun twist. In case of games that can be purchased separately, save data made on Apple Arcade doesn't carry over for some reason, so you're gonna have to start from scratch. And here's the last problem with Apple Arcade. A bunch of dog shit. Not every game on the service is a winner, with a whole bunch of low quality junk available, like, you know, Backgammon Plus. Overall, I'd say that Apple Arcade is a decent service. The library isn't gonna appeal to everyone, but if you like what it offers, then you're gonna have a good time with this. And unless you're an Android user like me. So what did Google do to compete with Apple Arcade? They pissed themselves. Google Play Pass, the laughingstock of the industry. What is even available on this service? Seriously. I don't think even Google knows the answer to that question with over 1,000 random games and apps on there. But let's start at the beginning, in June of 2018, where a mention of a Play Pass subscription was spotted by an Android developer on XDA Kieran Quinn in an in-development version of the Play Store. Changing the feature flag to true didn't do anything right now, but decompiling the code showed that Play Pass had something to do with a subscription. A few days later, one of Kieran's friends sent him a screenshot of a survey he received in Google Opinion Rewards. The question asked the user to imagine an unnamed app store that has a subscription that offers hundreds of dollars worth of paid apps and games for a monthly fee. The question then finishes by asking the user to describe how well Pass describes the name for such a service. At this point, it was evident that they were cooking something up. More than a year later, on the 1st of August 2019, the Android news website Android Police was sent screenshots of the service, which was supposedly being tested, and this was later confirmed by a Google spokesperson. The screenshots show things like the sign-up page, the main page, some of the included games, $5 a month price tag, and a family plan. An info page read, explore a curated catalog spanning puzzle games to premium music apps and anything in between. I just wanted to mention that part because saying that Play Pass has a curated selection is a funny joke. Jumping over to September 9th of 2019, the Google Play Twitter account posted that Google Play Pass is coming soon, along with a brand new logo. Interestingly enough, on the same date there was also a significant spike in crime rate. And then, on the fateful day of September 23rd, 2019, Google Play Pass was officially released. Only in the US, of course, because we don't want to compete with Apple Arcade releasing in 150 countries or regions. F that. The launch of this service was also much less ceremonial than what Apple had done. All they did for the most part was post this little video, release it, and nothing else. But, okay, none of this matters if the service is good. So, is it? Is it good? I don't know. It definitely wasn't good at launch, only really offering a handful of good games. But it's been a few years since the service was released now, and the library of available titles has grown massively, so let's take a look at what it offers, and it's not just games. There's regular apps too, as Play Pass has basically anything. And while that is a nice bonus, we're here to talk about the games, and there's a lot of them, with over 1,000 plus apps total, and video games taking up roughly 2/3 of that. But all of them are games that were previously available on the Play Store. There are no platform exclusives here unless a game was already exclusive to the Play Store before being added to the service. And that means there are no fully original brand new games on here. The worst part is that basically any game can be on the service, leading to shit like this being featured. But what are some actually good games that are on the service? Looking at the promotional material, we can see Stardew Valley, Terraria, Monument Valley, and some Sonic shit, but other than that, it's not easy to tell. Let's talk about this for a second. So Apple has a dedicated page on the App Store for Apple Arcade, which is available no matter if you're subscribed or not, and you can browse this page to check out the game lineup. They also have a Twitter account promoting already available games and posting about upcoming titles. On their website, you can't really browse the games all too well, but at least they have this cool animation that slowly cycles through some of what's available. Netflix announces games on their Big Geek Week events and on their Netflix Geeked account, and on their website you can browse through the list of games. Halfbrick constantly promotes new releases on their social media, and to see what's available you can just go to an app store and check their apps. And Google? Google does fucking nothing. Play Pass has the most games, yet somehow it's the hardest to find out what those games even are, which is genuinely quite impressive. Like, okay, games that are on the service have this little badge when you come across them while browsing the Play Store, but that's not exactly useful, as that's just one game out of hundreds. The only way to officially see what's available on this service is to buy it first. Now that is f***ing dumb. After trying out the service, however, I can say it offers quite a lot of good stuff. The games I mentioned before, 60 Seconds, Dead Still, Shadow Fight 2 Special Edition, Kingdom Rush TD, Golf Peaks, Grizz, Levelhead, Slay the Spire, many free games like Cut the Rope, now with no ads and free microtransactions. There is definitely some value here, but in the end it is overshadowed by what's essentially shovelware. Just take a look at me scrolling through the apps. This isn't great. At least unlike Apple Arcade, there are absolutely no issues with flexibility. Every single game can be purchased separately and save data carries over as well. But still, the service has a huge quantity over quality problem, even filling out a chunk of the library with duplicates. There's literally over 10 Sudoku games alone. Now I'm sure at this point everyone is wondering, how many Mahjong games are on there? 4. There's 4 Mahjong games. I retract what I said previously, the server has quantity and quality. However, it seems like all this shovelware is mainly to pad out the numbers, and the games being promoted are the ones that are actually good. But this still doesn't change the fact that with this service you're getting a stack of trash with the occasional good game, like a turd covered in golden sprinkles or something. All for $5 a month. Yes, somehow Play Pass is just $2 cheaper than Apple Arcade. At least the annual price is $30, which makes a lot more sense, and you can share your subscription with 5 people. Because you know what they say, if you're gonna pay for a turd covered in golden sprinkles annually, make sure the price is justified. As you can probably tell by now, I'm not the biggest fan of the service, but my opinion doesn't matter. What do the people think? They don't like it either. The general consensus seems to be that while there are good games on here, the apps are a great bonus and the price is low, Apple's more curated selection is just a lot better. If Play Pass had a slogan, it would probably be something like the piece of ass you can pass on. Or some shit, I don't know, I just really wanted to make a pun. So Google Play Pass and Apple Arcade are of course exclusive to either Android or iOS respectively. So how about a service that is available on both systems? Netflix Games. You know, for a while people used to call different gaming subscription services something along the lines of the Netflix for games. And guess what happened now? The prophecy has been fulfilled. This is the service with the most promise in my opinion, taking the same approach as Apple Arcade of a curated selection, but without being exclusive to one mobile operating system. Netflix expanding into video games was first rumored in late May of 2021. According to a report published by The Information, they were looking for an executive to head up an expansion into video games and considering a bundle of games available via a subscription. Then on July 20th, Netflix revealed more information about its plans to branch into games, including how the subscription service won't be charging an extra fee for games, and that at first they'll be focusing on mobile games. Great for idiots like me, bad for everyone else. Later on the 26th of August, Netflix officially expanded into gaming with a grand total of 2 games, both from the Stranger Things series, available only in Poland for now and only on Android. Yeah, this wasn't anything special by any means, but it was pretty much just for testing and very little else. Over time, they made these games available in a few other countries, bought the developer Night School Studio and added 3 more titles to its library. And finally, on November 2nd of 2021, the company announced that Netflix Games is going to be rolling out the very next day on their mobile app. First on Android with iOS on the way. Also in August of 2023, they rolled out a limited beta test for TVs and computers to test out Netflix games on those devices. Only 2 games were a part of this test, but it's clear that Netflix is slowly dipping their toes outside of mobile. Overall, the launch was honestly pretty terrible, with literally just 5 games. But now they've really took things up a notch, because they have many fantastic titles on the service, like Spiritfarer, Oxenfree 1 and 2, Terranil, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, Bloons TD6, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, Cut the Rope Daily, Asphalt Extreme, GTA Trilogy, and the future of the service is looking incredible as well, with Braid Anniversary Edition, Sonic Mania Plus, Katana Zero, and Hades, just to name a few. Currently, Netflix has 86 games, with apparently 90 in development, so it'll be quite exciting to see what they have in store. Now, when it comes to the price of such a library of games, the cheapest plan is $7 a month, so same price as Apple Arcade. But of course, this is Netflix we're talking about, and all these mobile games are supposed to be just a bonus alongside the massive catalog of movies and shows and whatever else they have. This is probably the best value out of every mobile game subscription service right now. There aren't as many games as on Apple Arcade, but what they have right now and what's coming in the future will definitely keep you occupied for a long time. And it's available on both iOS and Android, so, you know. I think it would be really funny though if they made like a $4 or $5 subscription that gives you access to just the games. No movies, no shows, none of that. The target target audience for this would be me, other mobile gaming enthusiasts like myself, and people from the Mobile Games Network Discord server. Please join it if you want to talk about mobile gaming. But what if you decide to cancel your Netflix subscription and have a game you still want to keep playing? Whether you'll be able to still play it heavily depends on the game. For example, Blues TD6 is available on both app stores, so you can buy it no problem. When Hades releases on Netflix, it will be available on other platforms but not mobile, and in the case of the exclusive, you need to be subscribed to keep playing. I wish services like this allowed you to purchase games while you're subscribed or something, because a life without access to Subway Surfers tag isn't a life worth living. Overall, Netflix Games is quite a solid service, and I did look up reviews with people saying sort of the same things, so I am factually correct. But what about the subscription service? Without a subscription. Halfbrick Plus, what the f do you even call this? It's not a subscription service since there's no subscription, yet officially it is called a subscription service. Maybe there's a button somewhere that says subscribe or something, I don't know, I'm just gonna call it service. So this service is for games made by Halfbrick. Makes sense. I'd be concerned if it was not that. And it was first announced on Halfbrick's official Discord service on May 16th, 2023. The message talks about bringing back the joy of gaming, being completely free, and classics being brought back, with the first two being Age of Zombies and Fish Out of Water. Then a week later, on May 23rd, Halfbrick teased that something is coming. 3 days later, the service was revealed. It released on July 7th. Yeah, that's about it for the history, and what did it lead to? Let's take a look at that right now with the game selection. It's not that big, believe it or not. As of the making of this video, there's 11 classic games and 9 prototypes. Since it's such a small amount, I might as well rank them all. Here's my ranking of every classic, here's my ranking of every prototype, and here's my ranking of everything at once. Even though the amount of games here is absolutely tiny, it's impossible to complain because it's free, and also what Halfbrick Plus is doing is a lot different from the big three. This is a collection of games from one company, not everything at once. Of course, the game library isn't gonna blow your mind. If I had to think of a negative, I guess the UI of the main Halfbrick Plus app looks kinda dumb. Something about this to me just feels like a shady third-party app store. The app has a friends feature though, which is nice. Also, Halfbrick's games are not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. The amount of games that have some meat on their bones can be counted on one hand. The rest of the games are mainly endurance tests. The one question with this service though is how exactly are they making money here? Obviously there's no subscription, ads or IAPs, and with the cost of making these asshole games work on ads, new devices, developing new prototypes, and the main hub app, right now it seems like the service would be bleeding money. Some people are saying that the price at the moment is the most ludicrous currency of the 21st century, aka personal data. Whatever they could be doing with this data, selling it, wiping their ass with it, doesn't matter, but I don't think there's any actual proof to back this up. So while they are not profiting off the service right now, allegedly, they definitely will in the future, as Halfbrick Plus is not gonna stay free forever. In the Halfbrick Plus terms of service, there are mentions of a paid subscription, and I mean on the website it is called a subscription service, but it was never completely clear as to what the future of the service will be. But in a YouTube video uploaded by Halfbrick, the CEO talks about how Halfbrick Plus will become paid at some point in the future.
But eventually, you know, we're gonna have to charge for it.
There's still a lot of questions floating around, like how much it'll cost or if a part of the service will still remain free, but what we do know is that we're gonna have to pay up at one point or another. I suppose all we can do now is enjoy this great selection of mobile gaming classics and new prototypes for free until it's too late. But what if there was a service that takes the worst parts of all of these services and makes them even worse? Crunchyroll Game Vault. What? That may be the question you're asking right now, because this is definitely the most obscure service that's still made by a major company. Crunchyroll, of course, is an anime streaming service. Therefore, every game here is anime themed. This service launched on the 7th of November 2023 as part of the Mega Fan and Ultimate subscription tiers in Crunchyroll with these games: Captain Velvet Meteor, The Jump Plus Dimensions, River City Girls, Wolf Strike Behind the Frame, The Finest Scenery, and Invento, just to name all of them. And 3 months later, the lineup was expanded with Pompu and Yuppie Psycho, and for now, that's pretty much it. And the price of such entertainment is gonna be $10 and $15 a month for the Mega Fan and Ultimate tiers respectively. Even though these are all pretty solid games, it's not a great deal. This is what I meant when I said that Game Vault takes some of the worst parts of the other services and makes them worse. Halfbrick Plus doesn't have many games. This service has literally only 7. Netflix games and Apple Arcade are kind of pricey. This is the most expensive service. Google Play Pass has a lot of shovelware. Here I almost wish they had some shovelware to pad out the numbers, but then again, that is a pretty terrible idea. That's right, f you Play Pass. Now I understand that what this service is trying to do is a lot different from the rest. This is mainly just a fun little bonus to give the more expensive Crunchyroll tiers a bit more value. But even as a bonus, this still seems a bit lame. Then again, I'm not a Crunchyroll user, so I'm not really qualified to talk about this. But you know what I am qualified to talk about? Gameclub. See, I have a degree. So Gameclub is a mobile gaming subscription service, like God intended, but its main purpose is bringing back old delisted games and making them work on new hardware. That's really cool, but you've probably never heard of this one, and for good reason. This is a much more niche service, and it's not the only one either. We'll get into that later though. For now I have to put the aforementioned degree to good use. There isn't much information about Gameclub before its reveal, other than that the company behind it was founded in 2018 and it managed to raise $2.5 million in seed funding at some point. It was first revealed on March 5th of 2019, with this tweet linking to the Gameclub website and talking about an upcoming early access program which started on March 12th. During this period, game betas were distributed weekly through TestFlight, which is a platform to test iOS applications. On the same day, they released the first video on the Gameclub YouTube channel, where the former editor-in-chief at Touch Arcade, Ellie Holdap, introduces the service, talks about the revival of 2009 iOS game Hook Champ updated to run on modern devices, and teases more upcoming surprises. Over the next 30 weeks, they kept releasing new games every week as promised, until on October 25th, 2019, the service was officially released on iOS, along with a Gameclub app that acts as a hub for the Gameclub experience. It took quite a while for the service to come out on Android, releasing there on June 18th of 2020, and initially with a smaller selection of games. Cross-platform play was also introduced to the service on this day. Over time, Gameclub was expanded with many new features, starting with challenges, which is exactly what the name suggests. They are quick bite-sized missions to complete, and a redesign of the main app and dashboard. Later on, leagues got added, which is a leaderboard system encouraging players to compete against each other. Then came profile pictures, adding friends and viewing player activity, and after that came nothing. Here's where the story takes an interesting turn, however. On March 23rd of 2023, the company behind the service, Gameclub Incorporated, was acquired by Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two, of course, owns Rockstar Games, developers of the GTA series, and Zynga, a massive mobile game developer and publisher. The details of this acquisition haven't been disclosed, so we don't know how much Gameclub was bought for or why they bought it in the first place. Is there a chance that we'll see a mobile game subscription service from Take-Two in the future? I don't really know. Unfortunately, however, the last update to the Gameclub catalog was on January 4th of 2022, and now with this acquisition coming into play, the chances of a new update are even lower. Or maybe higher, I don't know, I'm no expert. Man, why the f did I get this degree? So considering that the Gameclub company was bought out by Take-Two, you'd probably hope that this is like the greatest mobile game subscription service of all time. And unfortunately it's not, but I would say that it's the most neat out of them all. First of all, the premise of the service is cool as hell. Like I said at the start, it takes these old delisted games and updates them to work on modern hardware, and adds other enhancements like controller support. Game preservation in the mobile space is always a pain in the ass, so to see such a dedicated approach to fixing this issue, at least a little bit, is really great. But while revivals of classics are the main focus, a few ports of PC and console games are also here, which is a nice addition. All of this means, however, that the service doesn't have anything new and technically doesn't have any exclusives. But I guess you could make the argument that many of these games are pretty much inaccessible without buying a Gameclub subscription, which in turn means that Gameclub is actually stacked with exclusives. But I guess this is up to personal interpretation. Second of all, the features this service has are great. Friends list, leaderboards, challenges, and most interestingly of all, if you previously owned a game that got a Gameclub re-release, you could actually contact them about it with proof and get access to the game again, free of charge. I don't think I've ever heard of a company ever doing something like this. That's pretty awesome. And when it comes to getting access to all of these features after a 1-month free trial, it's gonna cost you $5 a month. A solid price considering that over 100 games are available here. But there is no cheaper annual deal, which in turn means that on a yearly basis, Gameclub is more expensive than Apple Arcade. And that's kinda funny. What's interesting though is that one Gameclub subscription can be shared between 12 devices at the same time. Comparing this to the competition, this is easily the most generous multi-person plan. And the service is both on Android and iOS as well. Really, there are two main negatives to this service. Since the games are as old, they're not gonna be as prestigious compared to what the competition is offering. And since there are no new additions to the library, it's probably gonna stay at around 100 games until the end of time. But overall, Gameclub is a pretty decent service. However, there's one major obstacle in using it, that being the fact that Gameclub is currently going through a slow, painful death. The servers keep going down, making the website and app completely unusable for extended periods of time. Not sure if this impacts the games though, because those are supposed to be playable offline. The servers do eventually fix themselves for a bit, but it's probably a matter of time until they go down, and this time never go up again. But now let's quickly cover some more obscure mobile gaming subscription services, starting with Unleashed, the so-called woohoo of mobile you know. They have no idea how to market this, do they? This service is unlike any other in this space. It doesn't offer an extensive catalog of premium games for a low monthly price like Apple Arcade or Netflix games, or remaster old classics like Gameclub or Halfbrick Plus. Rather, this service is for enhancing free-to-play games. So you know how Play Pass has cut the rope, for example, but with all ads being removed and all IIPs being completely free? This service is exclusively for that, yeah. A very interesting premise, if I do say so myself, and by interesting I mean kinda dumb, but maybe there is some value to this. Not really, because there are only 24 games, all of them are random Play Store slop, the price is $5 a month, ads that give you rewards still stay, the app's UI is just bad. Yeah, this sucks complete balls, but it's not completely worthless, because at least they got Fredbear Games on board. Next up we have Appland Gameclub. Don't get it confused with Gameclub, because compared to that, this service is bad. Like, look at this UI. This is literally how entrance looked like years ago. For $5 a month, you supposedly get access to games valued in total at over $1,200. What a deal! Only problem is almost everything here looks like complete garbage even for shovelware standards. And somehow they still got Zeptolab on board for this shit. Yeah, there's quite a lot of cut-the-rope games on here. When it comes to big non-Zeptolab games, we have Badland, World of Goo, and probably more, but I don't really feel like looking for them. Interestingly enough, this service came out in 2014 and probably hasn't been updated much since then, which not only explains the terrible UI, but also makes this likely the first mobile gaming subscription service. It's better than Unleashed because at least some of the games are good. After that, we have services that are somehow even more obscure than the previous two. For example, Jumia Games, which is exclusive to Africa, supposedly with thousands of titles, but unfortunately I couldn't find a single game that's on the service. And Zain Games, which is a 5G mobile gaming subscription for Kuwait. Zain Games is such a fever dream. This random subscription service exclusive to one country somehow has a ton of shitty Marvel games, shitty Disney games, even shitty Ubisoft games. That's possible? I would be thrilled to hear that they legitimately got licenses from all of these companies. Anyway, look at this game and take your best guess as to what the gameplay is. Ubisoft All-Star Blast. You may think this is like a platform fighter or something because title and logo is somewhat similar to PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale, but no, this is a ripoff of Bomberman where you play against 98 other definitely players featuring Ubisoft characters. I literally don't have anything to say about this game. I'm too confused and astounded to string a sentence together. Also, there could be many more of these obscure subscription services. I just couldn't find any additional ones, but there's still one type of gaming subscription services on mobile which I have yet to discuss. Get it? Cloud gaming on mobile. Now, I'm not gonna talk about every cloud gaming service available on phones. This video is about gaming subscriptions that are intended mainly for smartphone enthusiasts. And the thing with cloud gaming is that since you can do it from all kinds of devices, like consoles, PC and smartphones, many companies end up having their cloud gaming services available on most of these platforms at once. With some exceptions, of course, but there isn't really a cloud gaming service that is exclusive to mobile. But there used to be one, before it was discontinued, and it was called Hatch. The company behind this service, Hatch Entertainment, was founded sometime in 2016 by Juhani Honkala, and it's, or rather was kinda, a subsidiary of Rovio. Yeah, those f***ers that can go 2 seconds without making the reputation worse and worse. They were one of the pioneers of mobile gaming subscription services, and as far as I know, they made the only cloud gaming subscription exclusive to mobile. I guess they were too early for their own good. The mobile gaming subscription boom happened in 2019 with all the major players starting either that year or later. Kinda makes me wonder if Hatch would have survive these days now that interest in services like this keeps getting higher. Anyway, Hatch was revealed to the world for the first time in an event called Slush on the 30th of November 2016. Now, Slush is a non-profit organization that hosts a big startup event annually, and Hatch is a startup, so it checks out. In the reveal, Mr. Juhani talks about things like on-demand access to the best games in the world with no installation, a new social experience thanks to easily being able to share gameplay moments and play with friends, new business model to allow game developers to focus on creating great games, and some of their partners like Bandai Namco, Taito, SNK or Ubisoft to name a few, and upcoming Hatch games.
I'm going to talk you a little bit about future of gaming.
Yeah, that didn't hold up. The Hatch website went live as well, where you were able to sign up to be notified when the service was going to be released in your region. The planned release was next year, 2017. And they weren't lying, because it did start rolling out that year. It's hard to pinpoint the exact month, but the rollout seems to have started around August. After its release, Hatch did not really seem to get that much traction. Like, at all. During my research, I really couldn't find a whole lot. This is further supported by the fact that on February 14th of 2019, not even 2 years after release, Rovio announced that they are planning on selling control of Hatch, due to Rovio's declining profit, partially because of the service. The only two major things that happened after the release were a partnership partnership with Sega, bringing a whole bunch of their games to the library, and an exclusive Arcanite game. But finally, on December 31st, 2020, Hatch was shut down with no real prior warning, with a banner on their website thanking its users for the support. According to a Rovio statement from February 2020, the competition in game streaming has intensified during 2019, while 5G networks and devices rollout has been slower than expected. It was also mentioned that the streaming service never had a target audience to begin with, which is an interesting assumption because I'm right here. That, including the lack of publicizing the platform and decreasing profits from the project, ultimately led to its demise. The story doesn't quite end here, as Hatch also had a second supplementary service with educational games called Hatch Kids. This thing is a whole separate app, and while I don't think it actually ever got an official shutdown, it is pretty much inaccessible. I'm very curious if the story could have played out differently if Hatch simply wasn't a cloud service, but a regular subscription like Apple Arcade, because they really had a lot going in their favor with a solid concept, great features, and a ton of big companies on board to support the project. Maybe if Hatch wasn't on the cloud and in turn wasn't bleeding money and wasn't affected by the slow rollout of 5G crap, they potentially could have had something great on their hands. Another sad aspect of this shutdown is that since this is a cloud service, any exclusive game is no longer playable if it didn't get a re-release elsewhere. Arcanite Rising, for instance, seems completely unplayable. In Angry Birds Go Turbo Edition, the best version of that game is gone as well. Some Hatch versions of Angry Birds games have been somehow recovered, but the most valuable one unfortunately was not. So that just about covers a big chunk of what there is to know about mobile gaming subscription services. A very rapidly developing space with new players coming in every once in a while to offer either solid deals or complete horseshit. Also, here's a quick ranking of all of these. If you stayed to the end of the video, I'm assuming you're quite a big fan of mobile gaming, so why not join our Discord server and follow us on Twitter? By doing those things, you'll be able to remind me every day to work on new videos, because this is my first upload in over 6 months. Also, be sure to check out this video. Also, leave a like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.